Hi, I'm Brett and today we're going to be making a twice baked cheese souffle. This is a beautiful souffle that you can make in advance and reheat just before your dinner party. Going through the ingredients, we have the flour and the butter that we're going to make a thick white sauce using the milk, a bechamel base. We're going to flavour that with the cheese. You can use any cheese you like, from goat's cheese, blue cheese, whatever you like. So first of all, we're going to start by making the white sauce. First of all, we melt the butter in the pan. Once the butter's melted, we then add the flour and cook the flour out. Generally, this takes about 1 to 2 minutes to allow the flour to cook out properly. And you know the flour's cooked because it starts to come away from the sides. Once your butter has melted, we add all the flour in one go and we just cook that gently out. It's still on quite a high heat, but as long as you're whisking and making sure that the flour doesn't burn, it should only take about 1 minute. It slowly starts to come away from the sides, and that shows that your flour is cooked out. Once the flour is cooked out, add the milk slowly. So just a little bit at a time, and it'll all bubble up, and then it'll start to thicken, so you have a really thick base. Continue adding a little bit more milk as you go. Now, once all the flour has been added, you get quite a thick but very smooth paste. This is going to be our base for our souffle. Add your base to your stainless steel bowl just for a few minutes. Allow it to cool. It takes about 10 minutes to cool down, and then we're going to add our egg yolks and our cheese. So what are we doing now? We're just breaking the egg whites. Separating the whites from the yolk. We're going to use the yolk. It actually helps thicken the base. Generally, we use 1 egg yolk per person. So today we're making 4 portions. So we're using 4 eggs, egg yolks, and egg whites. Okay. So we start the egg whites beating on a high speed, and we want to get them a little bit stiff, but not too stiff. If you overbeat them, you actually beat the air out of your eggs. You want to maintain that light, fluffy, as you can see, they're starting to double in size. You want to maintain that light, fluffy, aerated whites. Once you see your whites starting to get nice and thick, we can add a little pinch of salt. And very shortly, once we start seeing some peaks, we add a little bit of lemon juice. The citric acid in the lemon juice helps to stabilise your egg whites. So a little bit of lemon juice just while we're finishing whipping it. That's it. Now, once you can see the whites are starting to get a little bit stiff, you can see you have little peaks on your whites, and that generally shows that you've got nice aerated whites. We come back to our base, and now we're going to add our 4 egg yolks to our base. We want to give that a good whisk to make it a nice smooth base. If we have a smooth base, it makes folding your egg whites for your souffle much easier. Okay. As you can see, the base is nice and smooth, and we're going to add our cheese. Again, the cheese, I've got a combination of cheddar, parmesan, and Gruyere, but you can use goat's cheese, feta, blue cheese. Now we're moving on to the spatula side of it because we're actually going to add the egg whites and we don't want to whisk the air out of the whites. Just going to add a little bit of salt and pepper, not too much. We've already seasoned our egg whites. The egg white is added in 2 stages. So the first stage, we want to mix it through quite well. The second stage is the folding stage. Okay, as you can see, most of the white has been incorporated into our base. Now the second whites, we actually want to fold a lot lighter. So it's a lifting process. So you're under and lift. You're not whisking or knocking the air out of your whites. You're just trying to get those little pockets of white to disperse evenly through the base. And there we go. That's ready to be put into our mould. So these moulds have been buttered and lined with breadcrumbs that I've added some freshly chopped parsley to. To line your moulds, just use a little bit of butter on your finger and run it around quite liberally, moving that around. Just remove the excess butter, tip some breadcrumbs in, and as you're tipping the breadcrumbs out, you actually roll it around so that the breadcrumbs come evenly around the mould. Okay, we just put the base, souffle, into our moulds. Don't overfill them. You do tend to want to sort of get as much as you can in there, but they are going to rise, and if you overfill them, you end up with little volcanoes. Your oven should be preheated to 180 degrees, and that's fan forced. If yours isn't fan forced, you probably want about 190 degrees. Just allow an extra 10%. Our soufflés have now been in for 12 minutes, and you can see they've puffed up beautifully, nice and even. Now we're just going to let those cool down for about 10 to 15 minutes. They are going to deflate, but once we turn them out, they will inflate again. Okay, our soufflés have now been sitting out for about 15 minutes. As you can see, they've deflated from what those beautiful puffy soufflés looked like before. What we do now is we just give your tray a light spray. You don't want your soufflé to stick after you've done all that beautiful work. Just run a little spatula around the side and allow your soufflé to drop out. So these soufflés are now ready to go in the oven. Again, if you were doing a dinner party, you could leave these out for about an hour or put them in the fridge, and then when you're ready to put them in the oven, if they've been in the fridge, leave them out for about 15 minutes and then finish them in the oven. The outside will toast to a beautiful golden brown, and they'll go about another 30%, so they're like little cheese pillows. So again, you want to put them in the oven at the same temperature, 180 degrees, for about a further 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, the soufflés have now been in another 12 minutes, and you can see they've puffed up beautifully like crunchy little fluffy balls of cheese. Now to serve these, you can actually serve them as is, just with a little bit of fresh chives. We're just going to put that on the plate. Now you've got 2 ways. You can serve them down like that or up like that. Okay? Just chop some fresh chives to go with them. A little bit of olive oil. And there we are, ready to go. Now with this souffle, you'll see how it's beautiful, light and fluffy inside. And there's no egg whites, it's just all beautiful fluffy cheese flavour.